Welcome to another brand new episode of Undisputed Anime. This is your podcast where we like to give you some recommendations, reviews, and just sometimes a few rants. I'm your host, Zane
Sometimes.
And as always, I'm joined by my best of friendo, Mr. Susu Day. How are you?
It's wet. It's very wet.
Don't get to pop. Don't get to pop your fan this week.
I could still pop the fan. Haha. Not my fan, but it is on my desk. So.
Oh boy!
That was that execution.
The thing is, of course, I'm wearing microphones. For those who are listening to the audio version of this, I'm wearing microphones so I can hear it as it sleets open, if you know what I mean. That kind of yeah. Oh, it sounds great.
Yeah, summer's been and gone in the UK.
Yeah,
I know. I'm not unhappy about it, but it is quite wet out at the moment.
I know. Yeah, I'm supposed to be as soon as we finish this. I'm supposed to go out and like get a trim and beard trim, because look at this mustache. It's like
mustachio.
Yeah, it's so long. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to running out into the rain to.
Not even the drums of liberation can hype up this day.
Exactly that. That's a beautiful segue. I might use it now, actually.
Do it.
This
You're welcome to.
This week we thought it'd be really cool to kind of give you some recommendations that just get you pumped, just kind of get you hyped for a good fight sequence, or puts you on the edge of your seat, makes you scream at the TV. Yeah, we thought it'd be cool to come up with some recommendations. Can I just start off with, I feel like this week has been an absolute shambles for me. The latest episode of like Jujutsu Kaisen, like I knew it was going to happen because I've read the manga, but the execution has just like put me in a whirlwind. Like I can't.
Yeah, everyone's getting on board, even KFC. That was probably the funniest thing I've read all week.
It is the funniest thing. Like KFC watches Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah, KFC put in a post out that says it was even more difficult from behind the counter.
And for those who don't know, who haven't been watching season 2, there's a very sort of a character-driven moment that happens in Jujutsu Kaisen, and for some reason, this adaptation of it takes place outside of a KFC, which is
a KFI. Like also, like, it's something that's
there's a bush or a tree,
yeah,
that covers the last character. But oh man, yeah.
It's hype when big corporations are kind of eat up your hype.
This is true. And the reason that there's the KFC in that scene, by the way, is because it's a real high street. Like, it is a real road in Japan.
And fried chicken is very popular in Japan.
It is indeed. It is. I
think that you'd personally prefer a fried chicken dinner on Christmas instead of a roast dinner, wouldn't you?
I would, believe it or not.
I do believe it.
You know me for years. But for those who don't know, I'm not the biggest fan of roast dinners or trimmings and gravy and all of that jazz. Like, it's just not for me.
It's just how you were raised.
My palate is just kind of wild, to say the least. So yeah.
The spiciest curry for Christmas Day.
Absolutely, yeah. Who wouldn't want a goat curry for Christmas?
Your wife.
Exactly that.
Yeah, that's been pretty hype. Absolutely. Bleach also very hype.
Bleach, yeah.
So
killing it.
I think everyone stops talking about Bleach when it's not airing, but then the moment that the new season comes back out, everyone's like, "This is incredible! Like this is like we've been waiting for this." But then they go back into hibernation. It's like,
yeah, I don't know. I don't think Bleach has been the flavor of the month, just because there's been so much like Jujutsu Kaisen and Zom 100 is running away with some good viewerships as well, which is amazing.
And
to
you've been watching, haven't you? Zom 100.
I have, yeah.
And I believe you gave a pretty favorable first impression.
Yes, I bloody love it. Like I can't believe how much I enjoy this series. Mainly because I feel kind of burnt out by the zombie genre by now. Like,
yeah,
it feels like
it got really overdone for the last like 10 years in every single facet of media.
Yeah,
like you've got Walking Dead that just will not die.
It's still walking.
And then it feels like every year, like Netflix puts out a new zombie themed show.
Yeah, like
I mean, the most hype thing that hyped zombie news I got this year was the fact that like there's the possibility that 28 years later, 28 months later is meant to be happening.
Yeah,
like I know it's been like kind of like, I know that there's a script, I know that at least there's a concept for it, and I've known that for years. But to actually hear it come up in conversation like that, actually this probably is happening, is pretty good, because that like redefined the zombie genre.
Yeah. Gosh, that's been years since I've seen that. Because that's got Cillian Murphy, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm not great with names and faces.
Mr. Oppenheimer himself.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's why the conversation came up about it.
Yeah, but yeah, they gave us the new norm for zombies, which is like the runners. And stuff like there weren't running zombies prior to 28 days later, unless you're going to like say, oh well, what about Nemesis? Nemesis isn't technically sorry, we're going into Resident Evil like lore now, and like Nemesis isn't technically a zombie, right. In a traditional sense, is it? So,
I wouldn't.
He's a T-virus monster, not a zombie.
Okay.
Anywho, I'm getting well off topic. So Zom 100, good, worth watching, yeah?
Oh, 100%. And there's a live action movie that just came to Netflix. I haven't seen it yet, but it could be fun.
Well, I've not started Zom 100. It's on my list. But from what I've seen of the clips, what's really striking me and what's the most appealing thing to me is it's got such a vibrant palette.
Yeah.
Which is completely in contrast to what the subject matter is. Yeah.
So. Absolutely. And I think that plays into the perspective of the MC, like the whole idea, like this kind of terrible thing that's happened to the world is his now freedom, like to do his wildest dream.
He's been wanting something like this to happen. And honestly, I think it's such a good starting point for a story, for especially a post-apocalyptic one, because usually you get a post-apocalyptic story and it's like everything is very bad and it's just surviving. But I love the occasional story that comes along where it's like the end of the world happens and there's that one person who's been like, I've been waiting for the end of the world I've been waiting for this. I'm gonna thrive here. It's like when you speak to gamers and they're like, oh yeah, if the end of the world happened, I'd be well prepared. It's like that sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah. A bit like I remember when Zombieland came out, and it's kind of like that kind of perspective, isn't it, of zombie kill of the week, and it's kind of tongue in cheek about the whole end of the world. Yeah. But yeah, it's amazing. I really enjoyed this series. Excellent. Should we knuckle into the episode? I know we're kind of like bouncing about a bit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, this, you can just tell this is just the flavor of the day. It's like neither of us are quite sure where we are.
Yeah, I am on a very strong coffee because I'm a tired boy. Excuse me while I take a little sip.
And usually by this time of the morning, I've had at least 4 cups of tea, and I've only had 1. So So my caffeine levels are down.
So
let's do it.
we need to give energy to an episode about hype anime.
Channel your inner like Goku going Super Saiyan for the first time.
Please give me your energy. Do you know what? That's actually quite nice. Let me pop
That's a good
this
segue.
up.
Another good segue.
Another good segue. Here we go.
Full of them today.
Dragon Ball Z was the first thing I thought of. It's just
Absolutely.
like pure hype.
Yeah.
It just gets you out of your seat, like Dragon Ball Z.
And what I will say for Dragon Ball Z, especially given more modern interpretations of it through things like social media, you've got like editing software has become much more accessible to everyone, and as a result, if you go onto an app like TikTok, you will see the cleanest edits of the most hype moments. So it's like right now, this is an age where it's like it's so good to get hype about these moments, because like people are able to just so cleanly make them into these little compilations that just cut out all the crap.
Yeah. Yeah. And it surprises me, like I shouldn't be surprised, but how many characters do have their moments. Like, you know, you don't necessarily straight away think of Trunks, but when you do watch those edits, like you say, his moments from his introduction to fighting Cell and the androids and stuff, they can be just absolutely pure. And of course, his famous TV special where we get to see his past being trained.
Absolutely.
Oh, that is just edge of your seat like content.
But yeah, but like just even to just go more generically with Dragon Ball Z, it's like it's just seeing anybody put together like a cut of like the most hype transformations. Like I could sit and watch like back to back like cuts of like first transformations into Super Saiyan forms. Like just it's so good. And then you like get things like you get stuff from like the Cell games, and you get to see like Gohan go from being this little kid to all of a sudden being this arrogant, most strongest in the world, to all of a sudden getting cut back down again. And you're that whole way, you're like, this has to end in their favor, but like you're there like the whole time, like.
Yeah, it's just sensational, and like it really kind of set the template of you know, overcoming one obstacle. Then I think back to like the first fight against Vegeta, and like you instantly think of the two of them standing on the stone pillars and, you know, facing off. But when you kind of think back to the actual fight itself, like the hand-to-hand bit, the two ki blasts that collide, and then you have the moment where like Gohan intervenes as a giant ape, and like there's just so much that happens because it's just like the ante just goes ba 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 ba. I think doesn't Krillin use a Destructo Disc? I think someone does a mini Spirit Bomb as well. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting confused, but
there's a lot that goes on.
So much, yeah, and it just keeps
Dragon Ball Z at its finest.
At its finest, at its absolute finest.
You got to remember that despite the overabundance of filler in Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Z is like honestly like shonen genre anime or manga at its finest. It is like this like just power fantasy.
Yes. Absolutely.
Where I think that I know that like he gets memed on all the time, but you've got like characters like Yamcha, and even though he's considered like or shown to be like the weakest of the Z fighters, it's like he's just a regular guy who but he's somehow able to do all these like crazy things as well, even though not to the same success. You know,
I used to always find it wild that the lead up to the Android saga, Yamcha trained in a normal commercial gym.
Yeah.
Like that's he has like access to hyperbolic time chambers. He's trained with King Kai, but because he's a real human, he trains in a normal gym. And sometimes he looks at the women in the gym because he's Yamcha.
Relatable. But you got to remember as well, like the Yamcha's whole thing is that he's Bulma's boy. He was Bulma's boyfriend. That was his whole thing. He was like a baseball player, wasn't he? Like a baseball star.
But well, back in Dragon Ball, he was like a desert, like wasteland guy. He was kind of like a lone wolf scenario because he had the wolf fang fist. And what happened to him?
Well, what happened to Yamcha? He'll forever be memed on as the guy at the bottom of the crater.
Yeah, he just hasn't been the same since that breakup.
Yeah, and imagine having to every family gathering, every gathering you go to with all your friends there, seeing your ex-girlfriend thriving with the prince of the Saiyans.
Yeah, it's that whole mentality, isn't
That's
it?
the unspoken hype of Dragon Ball is actually seeing the Vegeta, who is arguably a bit of a dickhead, actually thriving in family life when you'd expect Goku to be the one doing that, because Goku's the nice guy. He's the dad that everyone likes, but actually Vegeta's pretty much crushing family life. Like he trains and he hangs out with his wife and his kids.
Yeah. There's a whole episode where they go to an adventure park, isn't there? And he does like the Shadow the Hedgehog, like standing on top of the spaceship the whole journey. Yeah. I mean, we could get into the trauma of Vegeta. Like, he's always wanted a family, but never had the family. There's that whole box there to unload.
That's an episode for another day.
But we're talking about like those moments where all the Z fighters step up. Everyone's like ready to jump in. I remember, again, this is going on a bit of a tangent about it, but preparing for the Saiyan arrivals, you had like the Z fighters training at Kami's place, just like day in, day out, just like back to back throwing hands, and I was like, yes,
yeah. And even going into like more recent episodes, like in the whole big battle royale that they did before the universes. The fact that like this got me so hyped about it is that they kept giving us small glimpses of Ultra Instinct.
Yeah.
They kept letting Goku like taste it, and as a result, the viewer got to see a small taste of what Ultra Instinct could be. So the whole way through, every single fight he's in, you're like, oh my god, is it gonna happen? And you're like just getting so hyped every single time he fights Jiren. You're like,
yeah, well, you could see he's kind of like trying to grasp that transformation and stuff. Yeah. That was
it's always so hype when you see, in not real time, but you kind of see episode by episode the main character or a hero trying to like grasp a new ability properly. Like it's always so good, especially like even it was hype in those episodes as well, because like you got to see Vegeta trying to grasp Ultra Instinct, like having never actually experienced it himself, but you get to see him try and do it. And those episodes are hype as well, because you're like, is he gonna do it? Like, is he gonna be able to grasp it?
Yeah, and that whole thought process of feeling it out and stuff. Yeah, I really like that.
And as my closing notes on that, on this, you can't get more hype than when you've got Gogeta fighting Broly in Dragon Ball Super Broly, and it suddenly goes into 3D animation because the fight gets so crazy, and you have all of the background noise, and it's like Broly, Gogeta.
Yeah. That's true. I'm with you there. Yeah.
Because remember, we saw that in the theater, and it was incredible.
It is. It's. I love the amount of like camera cuts of Goku warming up, and then the way he holds his jacket down by his like hip, and it's just blowing in the wind, and like it's like, yeah, this is go time now. Like, let's do this.
So good. Dragon Ball Z, guys.
Do you have a pick?
I do.
Yeah,
and I'm really showing the generation that I'm a part of and the sort of anime that I like. But I would be remiss if I didn't say that some of the most hype moments for me in an anime is every time you're watching an episode of Bleach and the music number one starts playing. And you know that everything, especially when we cut to 1,000-Year Blood War and you get the first episode, and you saw this in a room full of people, where you see like the gang all show up at the beginning fighting all those hollows, and it starts playing the new version of number one. That was the most hype thing that's happened to me in a viewing experience in years.
Yeah.
Because I was right back there. I was right back to like when I was like downloading episodes every single week to watch, like when it was still ongoing, the original series. You're watching Ichigo about to holofy properly for the first time. You're watching him use Bankai for the first time. Like, and he's this like hero that you've grown with. Like, you've seen him start from being a regular guy to being the savior of a whole different world.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Incredible.
The I think Bleach do the setup of a fight really well. And sometimes it does amazing sort of teasers as well. So like one of my favorites is I think he had a fight with Kenpachi. This is like directly after the fight with Kenpachi, and Yororichi had like this device. It was like a wing on that attaches to your wrist, and he just like instantly goes. He lands like on this bridge because they were transporting Rukia between like prison cells or something.
Oh yeah, so this was after he had like, so it was after the fight with Kenpachi, like you said. He was taken to the underground hidden area by Yorichi and trained. Like they did that, like with they did the like training to unlock his Bankai.
Right, yeah.
Like where he had to basically, I think that was when he had to fight his Zanpakuto spirit, but also find the right sword. He had to find I've forgotten the name of
Zangetsu.
He had to find the sword that was Zangetsu, but all the swords looked different, and so he had to find the right sword. And then, obviously, after that point, you get the bit where Rukia is being transported, and he shows up on the bridge to save her from her brother.
Yeah. But what I love about it as well is it's just kind of like that's the first time they kind of clash, but because Ichigo's still injured from his Kenpachi fight, like Yororichi has to kind of like flash there and like get him away. Because I think he heard like they moved her dates of her execution and stuff, and that's why he was like, "I need to go now." Like no matter what shape I'm in. But that sets a precedence straight away because he just boom, he's there, sort of thing.
Yeah, he's always got his priorities. Like his priority is always not whether he can or not. It's I need to go because if I don't try, that's worse than not trying.
Yeah. So yeah, there's things like that I love. I just love the way characters, like, again, it tiptoes on the hypeness of it, but like I love the moment where he goes into this secret hideout and it's where all the Vizards or Vizlords,
the Vizard,
Vizard, sorry, it's their hideout and they're all like on this like debris
they're
sort
all
of
up
like
above him, and he walks in.
Oh, goosebumps. I loved it so much. I mean, it didn't really gravitate to much, but it's just those moments. It's weird how the hypest things in Bleach is just kind of like people sitting around a table, like Espadas sitting around the table for the first time.
Oh my god. Yeah, when you see the scene of like it pans up the table, doesn't it? Like from Aizen, you see everyone there, and then obviously in the opening, which plays with After Dark,
Yes.
In the Hueco Mundo arc, you get the part of the song where it does the up the table. Oh, so like, if there's like, just because we're on the subject of hype, there's nothing more hype to me than a good opening sequence.
Agreed.
Yeah, like a good opening sequence will save a bad episode.
Yeah, 100%. And it's yeah. So I know, and again, we've had guests on the podcast before talk about how sometimes they don't watch openings because they feel like it's too much of a spoiler, which I can understand. But I feel like
that.
you're missing out on so much by not seeing it. Like, even again, talking about Jujutsu Kaisen with the opening sequence of season 2, that whole fight sequence where they're falling alongside a building, I absolutely love it, and I think it just kind of like captures the whole energy of
spirit
it.
of it. Yeah. No,
Definitely.
I think I might have said this on the show before. I might not have, but like my whole metric for whether music is good and I want to listen to it is, does it make me feel the way that like the opening of a good anime makes me feel? Like every bit of music I listen to on Spotify, like, it's got that formula applied to it. It's like, if I close my eyes, can I imagine this being the opening to a hype anime or a video game? It's that's what it's got to do for me.
Yeah, I might say something a little controversial.
Do it.
If I'm following this thought. I know you said just a moment ago, like, a bad anime could have like a really good opening. Can we say the same for Boruto? Like, can the Kanana Boom opening, like...
Oh, what, that's on Rose?
Yeah. The very first one.
I'm here to fight its corner.
Yeah.
The Boruto anime isn't a bad anime. It's just all filler. There's just too much filler, and because there was so much filler, it's front loaded with it before you get to any of the good stuff. People have painted it with a really negative opinion because you think of Boruto and you're like, that is the anime that is all filler, and nobody wants to be spending all their time watching filler. But as an anime, it's animated really well. Yeah. It ticks the shonen anime boxes. The fights are still great. It's just that people are very aware while watching it that it's filler, and that's a turnoff. I don't think that the Boruto anime is a bad anime. I just think that there's too much filler. If you cut all the filler out, I think it stands maybe not as good as Shippuden, but I think it's at least as good as some of original Naruto. Interesting. That's my opinion on it. But Basson Road, incredible. I listened to it yesterday. So great song.
So such a great song. Should we move on to the next one?
We should.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should. The episode's going to turn into a different kind of episode otherwise.
I feel like this one might be a kind of obvious given, which is One Punch Man. But I feel like it still deserves its roses. Like, I know this is probably like the anime that gets recommended the most nowadays, like, and it should be, because it's like one of Madhouse Studios' like incredible series.
It's also very easy to do as a recommendation to someone who hasn't watched a lot of anime.
Agreed.
There's not a complex story. It's animated well, and it's hype as hell. And the reason that it's so hype is because as the viewer, you know that there's probably nothing that Saitama can't overcome, but like, it's always like framed like he doesn't do anything until the very last minute, and that's always amazing.
I guess it's because they need to build whatever the opponent he's coming up against as well, because you have to give some sort of credence to the villain before. Because I'm thinking like with the Sea King, like he goes through a handful of heroes before Saitama turns up. And when you get that moment when it pays off, because he absolutely wipes the floor with him as you expect and stops the rain at the same time. But it's they really know how to tease and build the hype. I'd say more than anything, it's just constant like building and building and building. Here's your dessert, like.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's.
I especially really like the fights in One Punch Man where they show the villain kicking Saitama around a bit, and obviously as the viewer, you know that it's not doing anything to him. But I love it. I love it in One Punch Man where you see the villain thinking that they have the upper hand.
Yeah.
Where, as the viewer, you're like, you absolutely do not have the upper hand. The anime is called One Punch Man. He's going to kick your ass. And he's going to make it look effortless, and it's going to be funny.
I guess, again, another great opening sequence, like, just Bats, like, bonkers opening sequence, and I love it. Just even the weird ones where it's just like a Starman and he just like smashes it to pieces, like it's just incredible. He has his own sort of like, because there's this like tone, isn't there? I don't think gets mentioned a lot, but how like he can't really jump into that gear where he's enjoying the fight because it's over before he puts any effort into it. Actually, it probably does. I'm probably not thinking it thoroughly enough, but that first episode where he does feel fired up, he has the fire spirit, and it turns out to be a whole dream sequence. It's just kind of like the most.
He gets like no satisfaction from the fights anymore, and that I think that's so interesting as a driving force in the character, is that like he's looking he became a hero because he wanted to become a hero, but there's also this part of him that is like he's gained all this strength and he doesn't feel any satisfaction with the fights that he's having anymore. That's why I think that the fight that he has with I can't remember what his name is, but when the alien invasion happens and he's up on the ship, and like it feels like in that fight, even though there's probably at no point where you as the viewer think that he can lose. I think that's probably the first time in the anime and in the manga that you actually see him like, okay, he's starting to think that this could be it. This could be a fight that's going to push him a bit.
That he can enjoy and let loose a little. Yeah.
And then you even start seeing it like when this obviously hasn't been animated yet, but in like the most recent like hype arc where he's finally fighting the hero killer, and it's like he continues to evolve, and Saitama is like he gets like knocked into Jupiter and stuff like that, and they're like literally fighting through space. Like it gets that far, and you're like, this is incredible. Like, what is happening? Whose brain did this come from? This clearly came from the brain of like 50 people connected to a single brain,
or a single forum site.
Yeah, this is fan fiction.
It is fan fiction at its greatest, to be fair. But yeah, I love it. I think the music does amazing as well. Choreography, animation, of course, fantastic. Do you have another to suggest? Recommend? Yeah,
I do, and I'm gonna suggest this one because it's very near and dear to my heart, and I am currently binge watching it, so it's fresh in my mind. D. Grey Man. And I'm thinking of a very particular moment that is like hype as hell for me in this anime, and this is obviously spoilers for those who haven't watched it, but there is a part of the story where our hero, Alan Walker, he loses his anti-Akuma weapon, which is his like arm, and he doesn't think that he can be Exodus anymore, but he fights and he perseveres, and he's able to reform his weapon into its true form.
Mm-hmm.
Which itself is an incredible moment for me, like so hyped, because you see him try and fail so many times to reform his weapon, and then when it comes down to it, what he needed as a catalyst was to fight an Akuma, which is
Mm-hmm.
like the main enemy, and it's his first fight with like a new level, because the Akuma go up in like different levels.
Yeah.
It's his first time fighting a level 3. It's come in here, it's come into this secret base, it's kicked everyone's asses, it's gonna kill everyone, it's gonna kill him. Like, he's like on the brink of death. And then his anti-Akuma weapon reforms into its true form, and like you finally see him like reach his like kind of perfected form for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And then shortly after this, because the party's been split at this point, you never split the party, as you who play D&D should know. But they're in Japan, and he's like in China. But they're in Japan, and Japan's a country that's been completely overtaken by the enemy forces. And they're being overwhelmed, and the female protagonist, Linnelly, she's like in grave danger, and the main antagonist, the Millennium Earl, he comes in, and he's basically going to kill her because he wants to destroy her weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And the music starts hyping up and stuff, and you know what's going to happen, because it gets really dark all of a sudden, and then the music starts hyping up, and then all of a sudden, like, Alan is somehow there, and the thing is, I'm trying to like explain how hype this is for me, because but it's like, it's really hard for me to explain because I can't share the music.
Mm-hmm.
I can't share the scene with you, but this scene is incredible, and it basically, the episode ends shortly after that with like with the Millennium Earl, like he's basically saying like, it's been a while, like been a while since I've seen you, and he goes, good evening, Alan Walker, and stuff like that. And then the final scene is Alan like being shown in his like new gear. All of a sudden he's like, good, and he's like, konbanwa, and like, and then the episode ends. Oh, I'm getting like so hype about it, and I'm not doing it justice. Guys, I love Decrement so much. I really love it. It's like one of my favorite manga anime titles.
I'm right up there with you. Like, as you were saying, Alan Walker, all I wanted to say was, Alan Walker!
Yes.
Alan Walker! So, yeah, it is... I'm right there with you. I love it. We're talking about this to length off podcast, but the hypest thing from this show for me is, I want to say it's the 5th opening.
You're talking about Gekido, which is by Uberworlds.
Yeah, where it all takes place on the Ark.
Yes.
Yeah. That whole... People always talk about, favorite arcs and things of that nature. That arc probably easily in like one of my top 5, like right next to Bleach's Soul Society arc. Like, I love that bit so much, and like you said, it is a transformation as such, because it's when, you probably already know what I'm going to talk about, but when his innocence turns into like that broadsword.
Yeah, I'm at the very beginning of that arc at the moment. They've just gotten into the arc where I'm at. But I know exactly what he's talking, because when he's on the brink of death once again, and he achieves like over 100% synchronization with his anti-Akuma weapon, and he like kind of finds this moment of calm, and he reaches up for his arm and he pulls away, and it becomes this like broadsword. And then everyone's like freaking out, because they're like, that broadsword is like the exact same as the one that the Millennium Earl has, and you're like, what?
And then the way the crown cloud, like just falls on him or surrounds him. I just love that look. Like, and I love how dripped out he is for that whole arc as well. The way they give him that earring that's also a communication device.
Yeah,
I love that. I think it's gorgeous.
I'm a huge fan, because I've been like just doing some reading lately, and I was like reading about the artist and the author,
Mhm.
and she's made comments that like after he obtains like Crown Clown, like he kind of like goes through like a Super Saiyan transformation. Like whenever he puts on Crown Clown, his hair gets very spiky and stuff
Yes,
like that.
I've
And
noticed that.
she's made comments on it saying that like, I don't know why it happens, but that's just how it happens. Like, and he's got like this Super Saiyan transformation where his hair gets really spiky when he activates his innocence now.
You've
So
just sent me a video. Is this something to share?
it's the link. It's this exact scene I was trying to describe.
Love it.
Rewatching it has really made me really fall back in love with it. And the problem with D Grey Man is that like it's got such a sporadic release schedule. Yeah, like I think we get like a new one every 3 months.
Yeah.
And it's because I believe that the artist author, she struggles with like some health issues and stuff, so she can't be on like kind of a weekly schedule as much as I would love that.
Yeah. Fantastic series. It's not one I would have instantly thought of in terms of like great hype moments and stuff, but you've reminded me that there's some absolute gems in there. Yeah. So good.
I think generally when you think about like hype moments in anime and in manga and any media, it's gonna be different for everyone else because everyone obviously has like everyone has like a different experience of it and things that they like seeing and that they don't like seeing. Like I imagine if we were to do this exact same episode but with a different with a guest, they would have like a plethora of other like things based on their own preferences of like anime and manga. It's like it's like I'm not. This wasn't one of my choices, but like you can talk to some people about like Gurren Lagann, and some people are like that is the most hyped, incredible anime. Is it on your list? Gurren Lagann, guys.
What's that? Gurren Lagann?
Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. Yeah.
It was the first thing I thought of when putting this list together, but then I thought to myself, this is the only thing that has like Trigger DNA in it that I will allow to be on this list, because this list could have just all been Trigger for me. Like Kill la Kill, Darling in the Franxx. Well, not so much Darling in the Franxx, more like Sword Driver, because I dance on that hill. But
we do an episode about Star Driver soon.
Yes, we can. To be fair, we should probably rewatch it, then do a review, I think.
I will happily rewatch Star Driver.
But yeah, Tengen Top and Gurren Lagann, like it is just, it's hype from the word go. As soon as that curtain opens, it is just beautiful explosions and heart-filled gruntal energy, and I love it.
Yeah, and it's just one of those stories that just continues to up the ante. You're like, I don't understand how this can up its ante anymore, but it just continues to do it until you like get to like the final arc where it's just like every single critical moment manifests a bigger version of Gurren Lagann until the point where you get to like the final episode and they form Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, and then you go into the movies and you find out that there's an even bigger Gurren Lagann.
Yeah, I guess like and I only learnt this week. Actually, no, that's probably a lie. I've probably already knew this about myself, but I love it when a gang comes together. And the reason this episode probably. The genesis of the episode of happening is because I'm watching One Piece, and I've just experienced the walk to Arlong Park, which is when the Straw Hats are just kind of. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it now. This is the moment where Luffy puts his hat on Nami, and as he walks, the gang's already there waiting to walk with him.
Yeah,
and it's just a. Oh man, I freaked out because I wasn't expecting it, but it was amazing.
Yeah, when you see like the characters that you really like all coming together against for a common reason.
Yeah,
absolutely incredible. They've got a clear goal in mind. Like the Straw Hats are really interesting as a party because they've all got their own motives.
Yeah,
but it's always incredible to see them come rally behind the same goal.
And what's kind of interesting for me is that it's 40 episodes in so far, and everyone still feels new to each other, if you know what I mean. They don't feel like they've spent a massive amount of time together to be we're doing this. There's no question all of us are doing this together, which I love, because Sanji's the newest member. Usopp, so it feels like he's been there for 10 minutes, and Zoro, again, I'm not quite sure what besides him and Luffy having kind of an amazing interaction in that first episode. Well, not the first episode, but again, you know what I mean. Their episode's really cool, and it's just kind of everyone feels so new, yet they're already got each other's backs, which I love. And that's what I really love about Gurren Lagann, is that whole mentality of we've got each other's backs, regardless creed, race, twins, whoever fancies who, doesn't matter, we'll still each other's back.
This is a threat that we have to come together with. If we don't, it'll mean the end of everything. And this is as just a further note on Gurren Lagann. I think that particularly, at least to me, it might be the same for you. Gurren Lagann holds a very special place in the pantheon of good anime in my heart, because when I think of Gurren Lagann, I think of our friend Mr. Money, who tragically we lost a long time ago now. But this was his favorite anime, and there's just so much of him in it.
Yeah,
if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So whenever I hear that trademark quintessential piece of Gurren Lagann orchestral music, I'm that makes me remember watching it with him, and stuff, and it makes it so much more hype for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. That's amazing, because it does hold a special heart, because it was the last thing he recommended to me before sadly he passed away. But yeah, it's incredible. Even without our emotional connection to it, it's still a fantastic series.
It holds up really well. It's crazy how good it is. Kira has, who I believe I said in the last episode, I'm going to refer to my wife as Kira from now on because I speak about her so much. I believe that she has said to me, and I could be wrong, that she doesn't think it's as good as I think it is. But that's, everyone's got their own opinion.
Yeah. I wonder, here's what would be interesting is I feel like there's quite a few kind of Gurren Lagann-esque things now. Again, mentioning Star Driver, Darling in the Franxx. I'd probably say maybe even Gridman to an extent. I'd wonder if she watches those, how it would compare, because on its own, maybe it doesn't capture the same magic, but when you see everything else that's kind of
come as a result
from it, I wonder if it stands in my eyes, it stands head and shoulders above the rest. But that's not to say absolutely. I still don't enjoy those others. It's kind of that's Gurren Lagann's the Big Mac, and they're all the £1 Saver menu burgers.
Saver menu, the mayo chicken.
They're still nice. Hell, I mean, there's nothing wrong with them, but this is the Big Mac. Yeah. Double Big Mac.
This is the big boy.
Do you want to give any sort of honourable mentions?
I'm going to give an honourable mention, and it's actually less a anime itself. It's more a genre, which I think constantly delivers very hype moments because of what genre it is.
Okay.
And that is sports anime.
Oh, you read my mind. Go on.
Sports anime, and I think it's because sports anime is the closest to real life.
Mm-hmm.
So, and all of us can reference sport in real life.
Yeah.
So it's like you watch like Free, or you watch Haiku, or you watch Blue Lock, and you're like, that's something that I know. That's something a regular human can do, and yet somehow they make every single moment so nail-bitingly on the edge of your seat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's absolutely incredible. Yuri on Ice, like, see, like, it's figure
Mega
skating.
Blocks.
You've got like every time you watch like a really good episode of a sports anime, you can feel your heart beating in your chest, because you're like, the stakes are actually so much lower than in other anime, because like no one's life is on the line.
No.
But like somehow, as someone who's like played a little bit of sport, like surprisingly, you know, I know what it's like. I know what it's like to win and lose, how it feels to lose and stuff. So like, seeing it so well captured in anime is incredible, and sports anime consistently over delivers hype.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better myself. It's you're right. I guess it's more the emotional element of it as well, because as you say, there's no life and death on the line, but everyone's emotional scale, that could be their pride, it could be never having
life's work.
Yeah, their life's work, never having achieved anything until this moment. Like some of the coaches in these stories, like they may be a failed coach or a failed star in that sport, but then they have to turn to being a coach. It's just amazing, like development.
It's a very human experience. It's like it shows a very human experience extremely well. And like I looking at it, I don't think, like, in my mind, a sports anime shouldn't be anywhere near as good as it is. Yeah, it always is incredibly good. Like when you compare it to like other anime, and when I think about anime, I'm thinking about like fantastical stories. I'm thinking about like giant boss monster fights. I'm talking about like world-ending crisis. And then you've got sports anime standing next to it, and I'm like, why do I feel just as hype watching some of these as I do like watching like Bleach uses Bankai for the first time, or, you know, watching Gurren Lagann like return after everyone thought that Kamina was gone and stuff. It's like, it's incredible. Like, it's got no business being as good as it is.
Yeah, you're right. Like watching the fight between like the is it Helix King in Gurren Lagann?
Oh yeah.
Watching that fight shouldn't be as as crazy as, say, a match in Haiku against like the King of the Court or something, but it is like, it's just edgy, you'll see, nail biting scenarios, and
I don't know why. I don't understand it. I don't understand the formula. I just do not understand, but it is.
It is fantastic. Excellent. Yeah, I was going to mention Blue Lock as one of those, but you're right. As a genre as a whole, fantastic. The last one I was going to mention was Sengoku Bashara, because
that is just gratuitous, like, action.
Yeah, it's just unapologetic in its delivery, and it's just nothing but silly fighting all the time. And if you just want to switch your brain off, it's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. When you see Masamune riding his horse, and his horse has like big, like low rider handlebars, and then you're like, oh, he obviously uses a sword. No, he's beyond beyond Zoro. He's using 6 swords.
6.
He's got a sword.
He has a katana in between each set of fingers, like he's Wolverine. Like,
yeah,
bonkers. But
so gratuitously, like, it's just action for action's sake. And I don't hate that. I don't want that in all of my media, but I do want it in some of my media.
It has its time and place, and
absolutely,
there's a reason why I bought the Blu-ray DVD box set. Let's just say that. I think that's the episode. anything else you want to add or comment on?
No, I think, as per usual, I feel like these sorts of conversations could easily go on for twice as long as they could do, but that doesn't make for good podcast. Stuff. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Well, for those who listen and to this podcast as they commute and stuff, sometimes it can help. I mean, I must admit, as someone who commutes from time to time, a nice long podcast can really help with a really lengthy journey. So
I'm a massive hypocrite, to be fair, because like you know for a fact that I'm constantly listening to like 4-hour long podcasts.
Yeah,
but, so I think this conversation could easily go on for like 2 or 3 hours if we just kept talking. But I think that the show would lose its structure.
Yes.
A little bit.
Yeah, it'd be a very long list. But let us know what you think are hype moments in anime. We'd love to know.
Please do.
Yeah, because
if you can find a link to YouTube which shows that moment, please share it in the comments, because I love watching little like clips of like stuff like that. So
yeah. Or even TikToks or short form content. We'll happily
all that. Please link. Yeah, I love that stuff.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We will be back, no doubt, with another subject. And check out all the relevant links in the description down below. Surfshark VPN as always. By the way, I've been using it. I think I texted you last night. I went on the Japan Netflix. Wow, what a library!
Stacks. Well, who would have believed? Who would have thought it? If you go on Japanese Netflix, that it will be absolutely stacked with Japanese media.
I mean, it blown away. But anyways, check it out, and we'll see you all soon. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Peace.
Catch you later.